Couple things that I learned that people might not be aware of is I learned that vaginas can chafe. Toenails can start to hurt constantly when you're going up and down mountains, to the point that eventually they turn black and fall off. I learned that missing a water station in the desert is really scary, especially when the course isn't super well marked.
Yep.
And I learned that race distances for ultras are approximations.
Welcome to This Fucking Trail, home to brutally honest takes on Texas trails, hiking hilarity, and all things adventure. I'm your MC, John, and I'm here to warn you that this podcast is not for young children or anyone with a sensitivity to swears or strong opinions. And now to introduce the hiking hostess with the mostest, intrepid explorer, firm potty mouth, and my wife, Gabrielle.
Yep. That's me.
Now, today is a personal shit episode, a type of episode in which we explore Gabrielle's fears, phobias, and a story on becoming the badass hiker she is today. The goal of these personal sagas is to inspire you on your hiking journey, whatever form that inspiration might take. And Gabrielle, specifically, what is it that we are going to be diving into today?
So today we're going to talk about how I actually started hiking solo, what happened to kind of turn me into the soloist that I have evolved into.
All right, so we're cracking open the brain and going deep then.
Sure are.
Okay, very exciting, a little messy, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's get into it then. Well, why don't you kind of get everybody, the bird's eye view on kind of how you got into hiking, because you've not been a hiker for most of your adult life in any significant sense.
Yeah.
I know, you had some experiences with state parks as a child that maybe shaped your view for a long time. And I don't know how much of that you want to get into today, but.
Well, we can touch on it. As a kid, our form of entertainment as a family was to go to various Texas state parks. So much so that I got to a certain point where I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Walking around 7 kids in a denim skirt in the heat of Texas, it's not fun when you're 13, 14, 15 years old.
Right.
So I really grew to detest and hate our state parks. And as soon as I was an adult and out of the house, I actually don't remember when I first hit the trail again once becoming an adult and leaving the house.
Yeah, I know we had done a couple of family camping trips and stuff after we had the child, but I don't feel like we really started spending more time doing that until 2020 when everything else that was fun that we wanted to do was unavailable.
Yeah. I mean, remember your parents were getting rid of all their camping stuff at some point when our daughter was really little. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll take it. But I specifically remember telling you, we're not really camping people as we collected stuff.
Hey, yeah, no. And I was like, maybe we'll want to go at some point.
Yeah.
Look at us now.
No, oh my God, thousands of dollars to REI later. Here we are with a podcast about this shit.
Yeah.
So anyhow, like you said, in 2020 is kind of when I really started to hit the trails again. At first, it was with our daughter as a way to just safely get her out of the house. She was really tired of being pinned up in the house. And so we started going to local state parks as well.
Yep.
I can't say that she loved them, but she did like getting out of the house. And I really started to enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember, and obviously I was not able to go on a lot of these because of the way that our work schedules work and me typically, kind of being an 8 to 5 employee and you had a little more free time, fortunately. But I remember sort of hearing about these trips, and to some extent, I had the impression, I think, for a while that you kind of wanted to go by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, towing a child along a trail isn't always the most fun thing in the world. I love Celeste, but when her heart isn't 100% in it, she's not always the most fun to tote along.
Yeah. Now, when she is in it, she's She's a baby beast for sure.
Absolutely.
She was telling me after your most recent trip here this past week, I said, I heard you were able to keep up with your mom going up the mountains. And she says, no, she kept up with me.
It's true. She was moving at the same rate that I do on my hikes. Could she have done that mile after mile? I doubt it. Okay. But I was incredibly impressed by her.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the fitness that she has is pretty good for her age. Anyways, we're not getting into a bragging about our child episodes. We're going to move directly off that tangent. Let's get back to you. Just you, only you, all by yourself in the wilderness. How, why, when, go.
So actually how this started has nothing to do with simply hiking.
Yeah.
We all went a little crazy during COVID, and at some point along the way, I decided I wanted to do an ultra. And
crazy. Yep. Go on.
Yeah. So I decided I could do a 50K. I didn't think I could do 100K or anything crazy like that, but I thought, you know what? I can do a 50K. So I found one in Franklin Mountain State Park that was going to run in March of 2022, and I trained my little heart out. But, you know, Franklin Mountains is up toward El Paso. That's a good 8-hour drive from us. And as I thought about it, I realized I don't really want to drive all day, only to run the next day and then drive all the way back. That feels like a lot for just one day in a state park.
Sure. Yeah.
Looking around on Google Maps, I realized that Guadalupe Mountains National Park is only an hour and 45 minutes away from El Paso. And this national park has the highest peak in Texas. It looked really pretty from the pictures I saw online. And so naturally I thought, well, I'll drive up to Guadalupe Mountains National Park first, hike for a couple of days, and then I'll go run my race and go home.
Yeah, and this is where my reservations about your planning skills began. Now, in general, when it comes to, planning, organizing, making sure that we have everything we need for a trip or an event, you are a champ. An absolute pro, and I don't get in the way. I stay out of it. But when it comes to these sort of bigger picture planning things, you're just so ambitious, and reality doesn't come into it sometimes. This is one of those times, right? I looked at what you had planned, and I listened to what you were saying, and I just knew there is no way you're going to go do a 5K race for the very first time in your life and then go hike a shit ton of trails in the mountains. Right. Oh, other way around. Right. Either way, doesn't matter. You're not getting it all done, right? You're either going to screw yourself over for the race, which you did a little bit, or you're going to go and just camp and not really hike. And I mean, I knew, and I told you this, I think repeatedly, that this was not going to work.
It was so off my radar that maybe this wasn't a good idea. It didn't occur to me that hiking all over Texas might wear me out prior to running my longest race to date. Like, it was so off of my radar that I didn't listen to you at all. No, I'm going to be walking. Like, it's gonna be fine. This isn't gonna wear me out for my race. So
yeah,
I was unfazed by your concerns.
Not the first time, not the last time, but that's okay because I can always say I told you so, and now I get to record myself saying I told you so. So this is like...
Spoiler alert, you were right. So as I kind of started doing some research for my hiking in Guadalupe Mountains, I had a really hard time finding information on very many of the trails. And there's a lot of trails out in that park. You Google hiking in Guadalupe Mountains National Park and all kinds of articles come up about hiking the peak. Of course, that's exciting, going to the top of Texas. And then another trail called McKittrick Canyon Ridge or McKittrick Canyon Trail came up a lot. But other than that, not of articles popped up about the actual trails in Guadalupe Mountains. So it was really hard to decide what trails I should actually focus on. I didn't feel like I went into it with good intel. So I head out a couple days before my race to go to Guadalupe Mountains. And here's the first thing that I didn't realize could happen in Guadalupe Mountains is as I drove up toward these beautiful mountains, I kind of realized, they look like there's white stuff on the top of them, starting from about halfway up the mountains. They look like they're sprinkled with powdered sugar. And I thought, is that snow? Does it snow out here? In March? What?
Yeah, it definitely gets pretty friggin' cold up on the top of some of those peaks. These are actually tall mountains.
Texas does have mountains. But once I realized it was actually snow up on the mountains, I started to get really excited at the prospect of hiking around this park. This was icing on the cake for me. It didn't deter me. It didn't discourage me.
Literally.
I just thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm coming and hiking in mountains in Texas. There's snow on them. What more could I ask for?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a rest day before your 50K race. That's just naysayer husband speak.
Will you shut up about that already? Gosh.
Never.
All right, so I drove up to the park, and then as soon as I got to the park, I started hiking the peak. I only had so much time. I had to fill every waking moment with hiking.
Yes.
So the peak is, I think it's an 8 to 9 mile round trip with about 4,000 feet of elevation. And I was starting this hike, I think it was about somewhere between 12 and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So I knew I had to get moving to get up to the top and get back down. And so I had to push. I had to push hard and I had to push fast. And that wasn't super fun. This was my first time hiking solo. And so I had a lot of fears. My biggest fear at that time was getting lost. And so I had my Garmin GPS watch was sharing its location with you, but that wasn't working very well. It dropped the location a lot. That was definitely not a reliable method, but I was really scared that somehow I was going to go off trail and get lost.
Yeah, which now us both having hiked that trail, and you having hiked it multiple times, is sort of the irony here is that it would be incredibly difficult to wander off trail.
Yeah.
On the peak trail.
I should have been worried about a lot of other things, not about getting lost here.
Yeah.
So I didn't love hiking the peak simply because I had to push so hard and it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I was wheezing, gasping, moaning the whole way up. And then the way back was not really any easier. I am not a good descender. It takes me just about as long to go down a mountain as it does to go up a mountain. I just don't love it.
Yeah, I think that's sort of kind of one of those random differences between the two of us. You're great at going uphill, and I am terrible at it. But I can jog downhill no matter how tired I am. Anyways, yeah, so, that all said, fears aside, I do recall you were pretty excited about seeing snow in March in Texas.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, it was quite a gorgeous sight, even just from the photos.
Yes, it was phenomenal to see snow up on the peaks.
Cold though.
Yes, and my shoes are like these webbed shoes. They're actually water shoes, but I love them for hiking. And so it was really easy for the snow to get in through the mesh sides. So I did end up with some wet feet.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind if you're going to hike Guadalupe Peak. But so you get there, you've got a 50-kilometer race coming up in a couple of days, and you've just pushed up and back down in kind of a hurry on this. How many feet of elevation are on this trail, roughly?
It's roughly 4,000. It's a lot.
Oof. So how are you feeling at the end of this experience? How are you thinking about the race you have coming up? What's going through your head?
Come on, babe. I'm not thinking about the races coming up.
Of course not.
I'm focused on the next hike. I didn't feel great coming off the peak. I had a big old headache, probably was dehydrated, drank some Gatorade on my drive back to the hotel. Kind of funny, I was too scared to camp in Guadalupe Mountains by myself, so I drove a whole fucking hour back to a hotel, slept there, and then headed back out to the park the next day. Very inefficient use of time.
Yeah, that fear has certainly gone away since then.
Sure has. So the next day, I was going to hike Bear Canyon and loop that with the Bowl and then loop that with Tejas Trail.
Yeah, anyone who has seen the map, I think maybe you've looked at the topography, the elevation gains, and you've thought, wait, I thought she had a race.
Well, I chose Bear Canyon, and I chose to go up Bear Canyon because looking at it on a topographical map, it looked really cool. And again, the internet had failed to provide me with much information about Guadalupe's trails.
Do we have an article about Bear Canyon on the website?
We sure do.
I was going to say, I feel like I remember editing that article.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes if you're interested, along with the article on Tejas Trail.
Yeah, that was a great one, actually.
So getting to Bear Canyon, I kind of started to feel like a little bit of a badass because I did use my topographical map to get myself from the trailhead. I had to go across a couple small intersecting trails before I actually reached the start of Bear Canyon Trail. So I felt pretty excited. I could tell exactly where I was on this map. I was crossing washes, crossing drainages, and I could tell where I was on this map, which is a big deal for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a big deal for a lot of people. This is not a skill that I think the majority of the public feels super confident in. Maybe I take that back. I think there's a good portion of them that feel confident that shouldn't.
That's probably true.
So, but being successful at navigating through, it is kind of a little bit of a web in there. You could take a wrong turn pretty easily.
Yeah, you could. So Bear Canyon is about 1.8 miles and about 2,000 feet of elevation gain. So it's straight up. And so needless to say, it whooped my butt.
Yeah.
I struggled up that trail and I did not have fun. So up at the top, I kind of sat there. I ate the best peanut butter and honey sandwich of my life. I had some Cheetos. Kind of thought a little bit about my life choices. So at that point, I decided I didn't have the energy to do the whole bowl trail. That was going to add on a couple extra miles. But I realized I could easily cut over to Tejas Trail and then use that to get back to the parking lot.
Yeah.
So,
first good decision you've made on the trip so far.
Wow. Starting to go down Tejas Trail, that's where I really started to have this first magic moment where I just felt like my heart was singing. As I came around a corner, the views just opened up into all these beautiful mountains. You see all of the trees dotting the mountains. There's the snow. It was beautiful. And at that moment, I kind of realized, oh my gosh, this is what solo hiking is about. It's like these wonderful, magical moments.
I think it could sound a little cheesy if you weren't like being completely honest about it here, and I think that's I'm really happy that you found this. I wish that maybe you had planned it better.
This again.
But I am happy for you, and I remember being happy for you when you told me about it.
Yeah, the best way to describe those kind of moments is I say that my heart starts to sing, because that's what it feels like when you have those magic moments out on the trail, and that's what I live for when I'm hiking.
Sometimes even when you're not hiking.
True. Regardless, at the end of the day, I was exhausted. The original plan was that I was going to go out and do another day of hiking, but I was so tired when I got back to the hotel room that I decided instead I'd head to El Paso a little bit earlier than planned, and I'd get a massage the day before my 50K.
Yep. I don't even know what to say. I didn't get a massage.
You didn't, no.
And I don't know. Am I a little maybe, but also, I was right.
You were right. Are you happy now?
Mostly.
Yeah, I got my massage. I lazed about that next day. And then the day after that was race day.
Yeah, I think at some point, maybe we'll have to have sort of a full conversation about what it's like to run an ultra in the mountains in Texas. Because I do think it's an experience that not a ton of people have had. I haven't had it. Because you could do it, and so why go test yourself like that, right? Because I'm not interested in that kind of suffering. That does not appeal to me. I get that it appeals to some people, and I respect that. I think that physically I'm probably capable of it, but I just have no interest in doing it. What was it that you told some of our friends that you knew you could do 100-miler, but you just weren't going to? That is so out of context. That I can't even begin to get into it. All right, fair. Dramatically out of context. I will say, you know what? Yeah. I said what it was it was a discussion about mental toughness. And, I was talking about, so not everyone gets leg cramps the way that I get leg cramps. Yeah. Right. So I get them. It's like a repetitive neural thing. It's not about being dehydrated. It's not about not having enough electrolytes. So yeah, no comments about how to fix leg cramps, guys. I have tried literally every solution on the internet. I have shot hot sauce and pickle juice and done everything. The only thing that resolves it is just progressive, excessive, fatiguing exercise to the point of nearly cramping on a regular basis. That's it. And that doesn't even solve it. It just delays it. Just the list. Some people get leg cramps. It's just like a genetic thing. Some people just don't, or are much less susceptible. And it is what it is. Anyways, the discussion was, well, if you didn't get these cramps, like, do you, mentally, do you think you could do a 100-mile race? And I was like, well, yeah, I don't think it's, I wouldn't quit because I was bored or tired or exhausted.
I might quit for one of those reasons. I'm going to be real honest here.
I was like, no, like the reason I stop is because, I break an ankle or my legs cramp so bad that I can't walk. And even then, we've been in races on mountains where I've cramped out so bad that I actually had to just lay on the ground for 15 minutes to let them stop. But I don't quit. I don't ask to be evac'd. I just wait. And then I get up and I hobble down the mountain.
Yeah.
So I was totally confident, and I got so much shit for saying this, and I'm probably going to get even more for saying it. I've not done a 100-mile race.
And you don't plan to.
And I don't plan to. We did do World's Toughest Mudder. I did do 50 miles. I think we actually figured the real mileage was actually closer to 60 because of the penalty loops and the offshoots and anyways. And despite having some pretty painful cramps, which I had trained, and it was a lot less bad than it had used to be, at no point did I feel like I needed to quit or wanted to quit. And I even gave you a toe at one point.
Yes, you did.
So my mental toughness is beyond reproach. My physical toughness is entirely reproachable. So that's what I have to say about that. Anyways, let's talk about you.
Yeah, how's that Toby Keith song go? Want to talk about me? Want to talk about number one, my, something like that?
Anyways, you ran your race.
I ran my race and I wanted to quit, but I didn't. A couple things that I learned that people might not be aware of is I learned that vaginas can chafe. Toenails can start to hurt constantly when you're going up and down mountains, to the point that eventually they turn black and fall off. I learned that missing a water station in the desert is really scary, especially when the course isn't super well marked.
Yep.
And I learned that race distances for ultras are approximations. I ended up doing a 55K. No, I did not go off course. The race was just 55 kilometers, not the 50 I thought I was getting into.
Yeah, I mean it's a bonus 5K.
I started crying. So I got to the last aid station or whatever and expected it to be, I think, 4 miles until I was done or something like that. And so when they told me it was 7 miles or whatever, I actually started to cry. It was awful, but anyhow, I have not signed up for another ultra since then.
You've thought about it, though.
I have. I need to go back and maybe get another award because
That's true. I think that's important. We can brag you up a little bit here. Your very first wilderness mountain ultra, your very first ultra ever. You never run a marathon even.
Yeah, no. I'm scared of marathons.
By far the longest event you've ever done. I think prior to that, what was the longest foot race?
5 miles?
5 miles.
Less than double digits.
Yeah. Nothing remotely comparable. And you got an award.
I got the DFL award.
Oh, yeah. So I think some people might know what this is, but probably most people don't.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that this was a thing. So it got dark. I was out there. It got dark on me. I see this car driving and flashing its headlights. And I'm like, well, I'm below the cutoff time. I'm okay. But it was obvious they were waiting for me.
And that's a good thing to note too, right? That there's a cutoff. You have to be finished with the 50K or 55K, whatever it might be, by a specific deadline.
Yes, and you have to make it to various checkpoints by specific times as well. And if you don't, you're disqualified. Then you get did not finish status.
DNF.
Yes.
I think many folks will be familiar with a DNF. If they've ever done an ultra, I think most people know about DNFs.
But I got the DFL.
Yeah, different kind of award.
So I roll in and everybody's just sitting there waiting for me. And I get informed that I am the last runner to finish this fucking race.
Yeah, there's nobody left on the course now.
Nope. And so he goes, you get this DFL award, and he hands me a bottle of wine and this nice little plaque that says DFL. And I'm super confused. I have no idea what's going on here.
Right, yeah, literally every other runner, even the ones who didn't finish at this point, are basically there, right? There might still be a couple of people being evac'd or hanging at a rate.
Yeah, actually, I don't know how they got back. Like, a lot of people quit the race because it was really hot, but maybe they quit earlier so they could just turn around. I don't know. I was that last person out there.
They probably had gators or something ferrying people from the aid stations.
Possibly. But do you want to tell everybody what a DFL award is?
Oh, no, I think I want to hear you say it.
It stands for Dead Fucking Last. It's such a funny little award.
It is kind of a mark of distinction, I think, right? Like it says you were just fast enough to make all our cutoffs.
Yeah, and you didn't quit.
And you didn't. And that's actually, I think, maybe the most important part of that is that technically you might be dead fucking last, but that's among finishers.
Exactly. And like I said, there were a lot of people who dropped out because these little bitches thought that it was real hot in Texas in March. Here I am cruising along doing great as far as the heat goes. Not so great in other areas.
Yeah. Yes. As previously discussed.
Anyhow, I went back to my hotel, slept, got up, went home. But in hindsight, I kind of realized how much fun I'd had not doing the ultra, but hiking around in Guadalupe Mountains.
Important clarification there. Where was the fun had? Yes.
Leading up to the ultra, I had a lot of fun. And I thought that camping and hiking by myself might be something I actually want to get into. And I was back out in Guadalupe Mountains all by myself in October of 2022. So what is that? 6 months? 7 months
Just about, yeah.
From that first trip, I was back out, and I've been out there ever since, getting braver and braver, doing harder and harder trips and trails ever since then.
And so I think this is a point where I have to give you some credit, because while your pit stop at the Guadalupe Mountains was a horrible race plan, absolutely a terrible race plan, probably sabotaged you significantly in terms of your performance on race day. Just want to harp on that one more time before I say, as a life decision, I think it's pretty clear that it was the right one. Because if you hadn't made that stop, you probably would have come back and said, I hate the mountains. I'm never going back.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that before.
And so, while I was unquestionably correct, perhaps we might even say technically correct, which is very often the best kind of correct. You made the right call for you. You knew what you were interested in, even if your conscious mind maybe hadn't quite picked up on what it was that you really wanted to do out there. You were looking for adventure and for solitude, and you thought you were going to find it on this race, and it turned out that actually you found it on the way to the race. And the race itself was, well, it happened. We still have that fucking award up on a shelf, though.
I'm never getting rid of that award.
It's a great award. I gotta be honest, I'm a little jealous. Having that award is about the only thing that makes me think, gosh, maybe I should go do one just so I could get an award like that.
It makes a great story for when people come over. If they're looking at the shelf, they're like, what? DFL? What? And so it makes for a really fun story. But let's be real. We know you wouldn't get the DFL award because you're a superior human being.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, love. I'm so glad you see me in that light. All right. Well, I think that about sums it up. So the lesson here apparently is follow your heart and
fuck the consequences.
I guess. I don't know how we came to that conclusion. That feels wrong, but apparently that's what happened.
Yeah, and I can't say I regret it.
All right.
Would do again.
10 out of 10. Well, this has been yet another episode of This Fucking Trail.
Happy hiking.